everybody, welcome to Let's Play Combat Mission Barbarossa Berlin. And this is Christmas battle. Yeah, still ongoing, still snowing and in extreme fog of war. But extreme fog of war really didn't stop these guys from taking all the objectives here in this sector or in this area. Do you use vehicles preemptively area targeting all the houses that we suspected of harboring or having these Italian defenders, and I think we are really successful. These soldiers are now trying to really see whether they can claim that objective for themselves, because we can never be too sure whether the game is actually telling the truth. And this is the last known location of the suspected Italian that we know for sure still not eliminated. On the other side of the river, we are trying to get as close as possible to the church, obviously, to storm it, the major objective in the map. T-37s, the small scout cars, are having a bit of trouble to keep pace with the infantry. Their limited engine, I guess, is being exposed, trying to climb up the hill in snowy conditions. And here we encountered in the last episode an Italian gun, and I think that really started the deluge of infantry rushing forward and trying to also overwhelm that area, and already took an objective, the game says. So in this central area where the church is, the action is going to be the greatest, the fiercest, or just busy with a lot of men moving around, vehicles inching forward, shooting indiscriminately. Here, turn 31, I'm sending one squadron back to be physically on top of the southernmost flag, the objective. Kind of getting a bit anxious once again, a bit worried about whether there's any Italians who previously ran away, trying to come back to take it. And the T-37s are still kind of up the hill and having a bit of trouble. All the other infantry also moving forward, one of them sneaking as they get closer to the church, because there were some infantry there, one of them being on top of on the second floor. So we will definitely be seeing whether they'll be able to attack in some another manner, because the tanks are, I guess, on overwatch, trying to support us in our push. But yeah, I mean, I only have this target, so I'm thinking that maybe I can oh, okay, so I'm doing cover arc here because I don't want to commit all the tanks in. I'm targeting that lone squadron while the rest of the infantry are moving toward the church. And here I'm just checking whether there's any sign of any rumbling from the horizon, because I'm still reminded of the fact that the Italians have still not received their rumored armor support. I read that they had some armor in reserve, but maybe it's the cold weather, it's not starting or something, because these guys are having all sorts of trouble but haven't received their support yet. And as you can see, these guys undeterred, but that grape shot once again, yeah, I don't know what happened, but more or less eliminated, because it just stopped them right away. Basically disappeared. And as you can see, the situation here has improved to the point where I can use the tanks now once again as transport. Yeah, just closing in to the last known position of the defender. I think it's a machine gunner. And all the other guys are converging on this area, and then we get shot. Yeah, we get shot. Fortunately, there's so many different squadrons. Front and back, firing support. And this guy also trying to inch closer to the building and not getting shot. That's good. And these guys seem to have a pretty good idea of where the enemy is now that they have faced some. I guess before that I was wondering whether the extreme fog of war is going to make it basically impossible for them to shoot in front of them. But they're managing it pretty well. No friendly fire so far. And yeah, masses of infantry, so many infantry now basically rolling. Oh, okay, so there's artillery strike finally from the Italians. They're answering. But I think in a place where nobody is. There's some machine gunners here and there, but not even threatening them though. Maybe it's just because, you know, the weather is making it almost impossible to pinpoint. And maybe they had some kind of zeroed in areas where it just took too many turns to actually engage. Yeah, and then we just bypassed it ways back. By turn 15, I think we are past that point where the Italians are now bombarding. But to make sure that we are out of any kind of zone of fire there from the artillery, we are moving all the troops in the northern area forward. And I think it's a good thing too, because we need more men to take all the objectives and move toward the church here, maybe in hopes of linking up. Right now, we don't face any significant threat or resistance, so we are just doing whatever we did in the last few turns, moving forward and trying to overwhelm any of the stragglers. And here, just maneuver ourselves to be in a good position to maybe storm the church, or overwhelming enough that we get to force this enemy out. Tanks inching up, protecting our flank there as the infantry moves up, and here just moving, you know, drawing beeline toward that position, surrounding the building one by one, because there's so many eyes on that building. So I mean, we are basically protected without having to, you know, be concerned about cover or anything like that. Things are a bit different here because there's a bit more distance to that church area, and the church is definitely more protected than the building, the light building. We need to be a bit more cautious in approaching that. In the northern area, we're using T-37s to scout for us, finally. One of them on the road, so that it's able to travel a lot faster, I guess. Just moving out of the artillery shelling area. Surprisingly or curiously, the artillery ceased, so I don't know what happened. Maybe they just ran out of all the shells, or they decided to change the target, which means that I think it's going to extend into the overtime, or even yeah, they're just giving up on the artillery shelling. They changed their target. It's gonna take like at least 10 turns before the artillery engages again. And here KV-1 tries to go up the hill. I don't know, I just decided to try this. Maybe it's going to get stuck because it's such a heavy vehicle, and I mean T-37s had trouble. The KV-1s will have just have a heck of time trying to get onto the road, but I mean, worth trying. I only lost one tank, T-26, to the snow, which is kind of surprising, given that, I mean, I thought that more and more vehicles would be caught. But I made sure to avoid rocky areas or brushes, so I guess that kind of made a difference. Yeah, and then contribute to all the tanks now still be able to provide some heavy fire support. Yeah, the artillery couldn't. And the T-26 is about to cross the bridge. I hope it is not rigged, or yeah, it's still able to support, you know, these two light tanks crossing at the same time. And just having a bit of fun with the button hotkey. I don't know whether it's going to make any difference in visibility. There are so many other different tanks unbuttoned, providing some kind of command. But it's a funny thing, because the Russian tanks are not equipped with radios, so they have to be unbuttoned in order to provide some command to each other tanks. I think they get radio, but not until 1943. And they just have to communicate using hand signals or something, I think. Mostly bunched up together because, you know, they have to see each other. Alright, so KV-1 seems to have made it. It's a Herculean task, but he was able to make it. Now the second test is trying to cross that brush area. Yeah, but I think it's definitely faster than T-37. It's surprising because T-37 is a scout tank, basically. Yeah, so we are in position to storm this building. I am not receiving any response from the defender though. And here we finally find the fate of the anti-tank unit. It was eliminated a while back. It was still firing even after its building was blown apart. I guess a few turns after that, infantry got it. No response or any kind of indication that anybody is alive in the church, but just keeping watch to make sure. And we find somebody here, stragglers. I don't know why they're outside here on open ground. I think they're just caught unawares. And this scout tank is as well as other infantry eliminate a unit there, and followed by the T-37 finish the job. Yeah, so these guys are able to shoot pretty well for some reason. Maybe because it's open ground and so close to the road, and it's not as affected by the extreme fog of war anymore. And I guess if they start shooting the same target for multiple turns, I think they're able to aim better the next turn. That's one of the reasons why they're keeping very vigilant and having no trouble in spotting the enemy. Alright, so turn 34 or 35, or turn 34. So still, yeah, working toward surrounding the church. Now T-37s, at least some of them have gotten onto the road. We can now move closer to support the infantry as they do a human wave. And all these guys are trying to cram themselves into the cover. You know, I think Italians should have, I mean, if they were able to change their target quickly, they could have targeted this area for shelling with artillery. But I guess the zone that they set up in the beginning was a bit farther back. So on the other side of the river, we are trying to attempt the human wave, eliminate the threat once and for all. So this is we are surrounding the building, yeah, front and back all around, and now attempting to do the human wave. And you're definitely here when it happens. Okay, so here as well we are more or less ready, just waiting on the tank as it slowly turns. Very slow. It's regular experience. I mean, it's doing all it can to turn, but I mean, check a 50-ton monster, so in a long time. At least the T-37 is now within the having a line of sight on the church. And finally, the moment you've been all waiting for, the human wave. Yeah, let's get this guy. Where is this guy? Yeah, so that's the guy, the last known location. Okay, so that guy has already been eliminated. Possibly in the first turn of this episode. And then URRAAA attack, I mean, kind of deflating conclusion of that attack, but at least, they were able to physically confirm that now all the enemy has been effectively cleared from that area, so they can now move on. Yeah, so northern area, we are still traveling, led by this T-37. I think that T-37 has 3 people inside it. It's surprising how they're able to cram all the people in that small chassis. This is the next known location of the defender, and that is trying to protect the objective there. I mean, it says we took the church, but obviously the game is not telling the truth, because there definitely are some Italians in there, and we have to make sure that we get rid of them or make them surrender or something, or push them away in order to truly clinch it for us. And the tanks are not trying to help that. Here, it's just a mess of lines. It's not really that. I mean, you're just moving forward. Combination of move command and move to contact command, and variation of moving. Yeah, there are like 5 different commands of moving, so I mean the move to contact has been very good. in this kind of weather. Because they just stop right away and do not have to exert themselves that much. And here, T-34 is moving onto the road. It's a piece of cake for them. And the KV-1s, yeah, faster, I guess, in a way, because I mean, it's regular experience, so he's able to carry on the command a lot faster than the T-37s. These guys are now crawling so close to the church, they can probably see who's inside. Maybe. Masses of troops here in this burned out building, exploded building here as well. And they're probably going to provide cover fire as they storm the church. Finally, the infantry makes onto the bridge. They can still cross the icy river, but I think the bridge is a faster way to move. Finally, the T-37s are making each way. They're just going to stop in front of the church, providing support fire, and also joined in by these T-34s. They really have nothing to do. And this guy's just looking rarely over that horizon. I don't really hear anything, so there must be... Yeah, okay, so we're being shot at. Is he trying to advance here? Oh, by no less than 2 Italian defenders, and making things rather dicey for those guys. Hopefully, northern guys en route to the last objective that the Italians have will help them, or at least get them out of some troubling spots. So turn 36 is using these guys from the north in order to relieve the guys now engaged. I'm trying to move up the rest of the guys in order to help that squadron engage in battle, but I don't know whether they're going to listen to me. It's going to take at least 30 seconds before they decide to act, or discuss about acting upon the orders. It's going to take some time. It has to hold out. In the south, yeah, just moving in mass in order to cross the bridge or cross the river. Just trying to, yeah, really stamp down, overwhelm the forces here, and really basically clinch the church for us. Yeah, so are they going to attempt human wave once again, followed by, following these guys on the other side of the river, which really didn't amount to much, but still were able to rush in with abandon. Oh, okay, so yeah, it seems like a giant personal mine that has been installed just outside the bridge. That's the enemy who could predict that we are going to cross the bridge en masse, prepare to lay traps. And these guys still engaged in fight. Yeah, they're not really backing down. These guys in the back not really up to actually supporting us on the top of that ledge. And this guy also being shot, so I don't know exactly where he's coming from, but there are more than 2 Italian defenders there. We are trying to run toward cover, but the T-37s are thankfully going to identify it, and you can see this guy in the building. So 3 Italian defenders protecting this area, the last remaining objective under Italian control. We are going to have some fight on our hands. It's not going to be smooth sailing. So the tanks, if they actually can get there in order to support us, especially at T-34s, is going to be very welcome. And yeah, finally, we are launching ourselves. Yeah, launching ourselves once again, but I think it's the conclusion of that human wave attack going to spill over into the next turn, because they took sweet time in mounting up courage to do a human wave attack. I don't know, maybe they just took like 20 seconds because of their lack of experience. But as you can see, there are like 4 squadrons of infantry now trying to rush into the church. I think they can make it without being tired. The distance over 100 meters might be a bit problematic, especially in this weather, but I think this is just piece of cake for them. Yeah. And they're getting shot. They're being shot from inside the church. Yeah, and there's a tiny defender right there, and we're throwing grenades and doing everything we can to suppress them. And it seems like only a single unit remaining inside the church, being shot. And finally, this guy wants to go up the level, but was caught and disappeared. Hid in a closet or something, or got under the table. It disappeared. So we need to crawl some more and then send the units to all four corners of the church in order to verify that we took the objective for sure. The T-37s are now driving past it, trying to support these guys now, engage in fight. But I got two T-37s there, so I think the machine guns are going to provide a pretty good covering fire. And as you can see, I think we suppressed them. Yeah, I think these guys are still in trouble as the squadrons behind it are not really up to support it. So these guys are kind of alone by themselves, tackling these two defenders, probably full strength. And finally, yeah, he's in panic mode. Yeah, unfortunate. Alright, so the T-37 I sent toward this area to check whether there's any strange thing going on. And oh, as you can see, yeah, finally found the German Panzer kind of scoping our northern areas. I don't think he really saw us. It's I mean, it's still moving on its merry way. So the T-37 is wisely disengaged and reverse as quick as possible. Get the heck out of Dodge. And yeah, there's some armor support there. The Italians could count on, but I think he's arriving a bit too late before it can really reverse the current condition or current flow of battle. It just, I think I mean, if they had ample armor support, then they should have arrived a lot quicker. But at least engage our tanks as they try to area fire or area target everything. But I guess they could probably vie for taking some objectives on the side while targeting our armor. But I don't know. That's something that I have to worry about. And these T-37s are not equipped with going up against Panzer 3 or 4. I don't know what exactly it was, but yeah, so we have to make sure to bring some T-34s and T-26s. And yeah, use these guys to watch over this wide expanse where the German Panzer can appear. Yeah, at any time now, because I think it's pretty close. We definitely make it to the northern objective. I think 2 turns. And I don't know whether the scenario is going to end after this turn, but definitely there's going to be some overtime, but hopefully not too long. The tanks are moving as quick as possible to contain or to encounter or push against this new threat. And this guy is in route. T-34 is moving. T-37 is also in concert with other tanks. KV-1 is moving as well. KV-1 I think is able to go up against the Panzer 3s or 4s without indirect threat. I think their armor is thick enough to withstand some of their attacks. But I think Panzer 3s, especially 3Js with tungsten, is able to still penetrate its armor. So another mine. Okay, so the group just in front of it was able to pass it by without problem, but group that followed it. Was also lucky. KV1's making it brisk trip down the road, and I think it's pretty fast for its weight. Already made it past the church and now past the intersection. And the map says we got all the objectives. Yeah, so we took all the objectives, and now I think this is the time where the enemy decide to crack open the armor support, the Fable armor support, now materializing out of thin air. And using the T-34s to area target, the method that I used to create effectiveness in the last episode in order to counter the defenders. So yeah, we're trying to get rid of all the defenders by attacking them from both sides. And these guys inside the church now, searching every nook and cranny, going up the level to second floor and going into the all four corners in order to find if any defenders remaining. And yeah, a lot of infantry are not crossing the freezing river because the bridge area is mined. The other troops are just moving on contact. The T-34s started shooting, trying to get this enemy out of the building area. It's been very effective to the point of basically blowing apart the houses and buildings, and yeah, making it very difficult for them to actually look outside these rubbles. Yeah, so we are just moving unopposed. Oh, okay, so another mine explosion. So I'm really should be careful because I'm taking on these unnecessary injuries. And then we are just shooting, trying to suppress. Alright, so we found the guy eliminated. Yeah, so I think there's no more Italians. And yeah, these guys are going up the stairs. I don't know, there are 2 staircases apparently in the church. Pretty large church. And T-26s are following. Oh, okay, so we find this guy hidden. I don't know how the T-37 buttoned up was able to find it. And this guy gets spooked, immediately reverses. That's like the fastest reaction time I've ever seen from a T-26. Yeah, I don't know why he got spooked. I thought they discovered some kind of Panzer 3s or 4s in the distance, but I checked. There isn't any. There wasn't any, so obviously he got kind of scared by the what he thought was anti-tank unit that was quickly dealt by the T-37. So I set them yeah, straight a bit, and then issue them new order. And then we are trying to do the same thing for this area. We last faced some Italian fire. Yeah, doing that as quick as possible while moving these tanks into the area to counter the counterattack possibly. And the turns are now going into overtime. This is turn 40 out of 38. I don't know how long that is going to last, but I think we have to see to the end of this counterattack before everything's said and done. The infantry crossed the icy river, so there's no danger of them being hit by the mines. Yeah, I should have done that after I got blasted once, but I think the infantry are moving in. Yeah, I think they have really no trouble. And this guy has now finally given up and got eliminated quickly outside of the building. So we only have a couple more defenders in this area, and it is still shooting at our guys. And we fire right back. It revealed its position and even damaged our guy in the scattered trees. So yeah, they're not to be trifled with. They can still pack the moon punch. But I mean, we are overwhelming them quickly here in the area target, so they have no other choice but to get out. Suppressed, and on the other side of the building, these guys are waiting. So yeah, they'll be eliminated pretty quickly. Everybody's moving. Okay, so still we have one more turn. I don't know when it's going to end. Yeah, I guess because we are about to take the last objective for sure. That, of course, and the counterattack. So we are trying to use the T-34s to look down the road in the intersection, as you can see by the rotate to command. And also using the rest of the T-34s to move on down the road. Yeah, that area I'm kind of worried about because, I mean, the road is going to provide the fastest route to this major objective, so I'm keen on protecting it. A bunch of infantry also in the church. And some of these infantry have Molotov cocktails, so I mean, if they are in close proximity, they can try to throw at whatever tanks or vehicles the enemy still might be able to bring. But yeah, I mean, the tanks really have to take the charge first, though. And yeah, these guys are now traveling using the transport to carry the troops across the bridge. There's another way to circumvent the mines. And this guy's still not giving up, so the tank is still firing, and this guy is not suppressed yet. Going into base. Yeah. Still shooting at the target here. Wow, it's not even suppressed. It is one mean fighter. Yeah. And another tank blast here. Doesn't phase him at all. Heavy one is closing in to attack it from the back. Maybe suppress it and get it into panic mode. But not phased at all. So still shooting. Getting blasted by the tank area target. But still standing and firing its rifle. Yeah, surprising really. And the grenade is being thrown by the Soviet unit from the adjoining building. So we are basically pouring everything into the last defender there in the region. Or in that building. Okay, so we are ever close to claim the last objective for good. And we're just checking out all the other objectives to see whether there's anything strange going on. Nothing on the horizon from the southern side. Yeah, continuing the last fight. Undeterred. The building is kind of taking on damage, as you can see. It's not in a great shape. It's gone through multiple tank blasts and fire. And finally it breaks apart everything and blows the building up to smithereens. And that guy has been eliminated. So yeah, that basically went down with the building. And that's another way to go about it, I guess, if you're having a lot of trouble with infantry in buildings. I don't know whether you can actually destroy the two-story buildings. That's probably where the Italians should have been. Yeah, but they spread their troops apart wide. Trying to think about how I would have played this scenario as Italians. I would have done the same thing, obviously. I don't know. I really don't know how I could have countered the tanks and masses of infantry. Maybe masses of infantry I could have fend them off because of the experience level of the Italians. But yeah, the tanks, I don't know how I would be able to fend them off. Unless I had a lot of tanks on our side as well. Yeah, I mean, area target is so effective in suppressing this infantry that... Yeah, that's probably the tactic to use, I guess, if you can bring the tanks in and then support the troops. I think the scenario designer wanted me to use the infantry as the kind of frontline force, like vanguard. But the tanks have done more than its share in providing that role. Yeah, so these guys are moving toward the suspected location or last known location of that lone panzer. They might be bringing in a couple of friends, of course. So I'm bringing all the T-34s and T-26s. T-26s might not be effective against panzers, but you know, they can probably hit, if they're lucky, the guns and disable it, or even shoot tracks to immobilize it. And he's able to close in because of the weather within 100 meters of those tanks. So I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. 100 meters is a really short distance for tanks of this caliber to inflict a lot of damage. And T-26s also could bring their guns in a pinch to damage the panzers. But in good weather, I don't think they could stand a chance. They would be destroyed right away. Especially if panzers can shoot like twice as fast. So these guys are, yeah, just looking down the road to see whether there's anything coming. And yeah, these guys also now turning to go across the street and actively hunting for that panzer in the last, I don't know, I cannot really say last few remaining turns anymore because this is overtime. And we played 6 turns, more than allotted as a normal set of turns, so I don't know what is happening here. This is like the longest overtime. And you can see there's something strange happening here. The game says Italians took it back actually from us. I don't know what is happening. I got a guy here on top of the objective. What is happening here possibly? The Italian soldiers hiding in the bush or something, now trying to counterattack. I'm not so sure, but yeah, definitely something strange going on. Yeah, so the tanks are moving now slowly, and this heavy one's also now gone into the open ground. Hopefully it doesn't get immobilized to track down that panzer. Kind of giving the idea that I really need to do something about the panzer before the game decides to call it, because I don't think it's going to end without we encountering this counterattack force. Yeah, so that's the position that we are trying to rumble toward. And you can see in the extreme south, yeah, right there is that reason why the game thought that the Italians now have upper hand here. I immediately hide the troops here because, you know, of course you cannot really go up against the Panzer. I think I identified as a Panzer III. And yeah, I don't know, it was very surprised that the Panzer was able to traverse across that wide expanse of brush with snow caked in. I would not have imagined that to be possible. These guys are able to start out from that area, let alone cross it. And I don't know how they would have ended up there. Maybe they started out rather close and then decide to act very late. I have no idea, but I really need to counter that tank before one of my or all of our southern objectives get threatened and taken over, because they only have one squadron here guarding this spot. And yeah, I don't know what's going to happen here. You have to be very, very quiet. Just not move an inch. Yeah, and I guess I kind of got the Panzer to think about actually trying to take the objective for sure. Oh, there's that tank. Yeah, so this guy finally made it. Some of our squadrons in the building are hidden, so they don't know. So he's approaching us rather closely. KV-1, yeah, he didn't know the tank was going to come this way, but turning toward that direction. And this leader tank, this regular T-34, is now getting this enemy tank within line of sight. Very close now. And I think he was able to discover it first. Yeah, so it's turning its gun pretty fast. And this tank is distracted by the machine gun fire. And he was able to destroy it. Yeah, before he was able to get his first shot. So very lucky in this extreme fog of war that T-34 was able to make its first shot count. And the unfortunate thing is that there is another tank following it very closely. Here, I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe they got cold feet and decided to travel to the bridge or something, because that's where the major objective is, the church. I guess it's closer that way. The T-26s, I don't know what to do with them, just moving them up onto the open ground just in case. And here there's another Panzer 3 coming into view, and not really in direct line of sight, but we are able to see visually. And that is, yeah, the Panzer 3 is more interested in shooting machine guns at our infantry. He's wisely going into the building. And, oh, okay, so some infantry also appear. So the Germans brought more than the Panzers. But quickly countered by the Russian, hidden Russian squadrons. And these guys are now, yeah, racing now across the bridge, trying to counter that Panzer that has appeared in the south area. And yeah, the K1's also trying to come, but not quickly enough before this guy gets its first shot. The first shot from the T-34 missed and is now made itself known, so the Panzer is now quickly adjusting its gun, and I think it's going to... T-34 was hit with one casualty, but then was able to fire back. Unfortunately missed, and this guy also missed. The Panzer is definitely able to fire a lot quicker, and the battle now goes into yet another turn 47. Yeah, so I played 9 turns past the normal turn for this scenario, so I mean this is really going on for a long time. And I mean I had to probably finish this fight before game decides. I think I'm still winning, but I mean this is pretty interesting whether the Axis is able to scrounge up some last remaining point here to deny us that the big victory, you know, we are in position to secure. Alright, so let's see what happens. This battle between T-34, who's now one man down. Alright, okay, so fortunately was able to bounce it off. And upper hull penetration for this Panzer 3, and track was hit. It's not a full direct shot, but was able to make it, yeah, was able to hit it. Alright, so the final shot, T-34 confirmed the kill for the tank. I think it was already knocked out before, or abandoned, but then T-34 was able to destroy it once and for all. So, all in all, the victory for that now crippled T-34, one man down. But I guess the gunner was not the one that got hurt. Possibly the driver or some other guy, reloader. Only 4 tankers inside T-34s. Yeah, I mean the gunner is also the tank commander, so they have to button up in order to shoot their guns. And you can see that these 2 T-34s are gunning directly into the path of this Panzer 3. And unfortunately the time is up, but I think if this continued, the T-34 would have had the advantage because it was aiming at the side of the tank. Alright, so total victory was achieved. It was a bit exciting at the end, but yeah, I think the game was lopsided even from the beginning of this episode. So these guys could have taken some of the objectives back, especially if it was good weather, but yeah, I mean in good weather they could have definitely targeted these tanks coming off of the bridge. And as you can see, there's some infantry hanging back. I don't know what happened there, and this tank was immobilized in the brush, so it cannot really move. I guess I got lucky there. But yeah, the question is why they didn't move fast enough. I don't know. And here you can see the anti-personnel mines that really didn't find its target, placed in a haphazard manner. And as you can see, there was one more tank aside from the lead tank on the southern side from the Germans. Yeah, there was that routed machine gun guy, I didn't really notice. And some more, I don't know what was their thought behind this, but yeah, I mean, they just mined the graveyard for some reason. And you can see more vehicles. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't arrive. They definitely could help the stricken Italian defense, the second episode. And surprisingly, there's some pretty good stats. No, not those, but the gun, yeah, the tank hunters. Yeah, this guy had actually good chance against the T-34s even because of the limited visual range, and of course these guys could travel a bit faster. And there's that lorries of Italian reinforcement that didn't arrive and just stayed back. Maybe they calculated that not moving them might have avoided certain disaster, maybe certain wipeout. They didn't want to surrender or something, because sometimes if they really lose a lot of units and have nowhere to go, they surrender, but they didn't want to, they wanted to avoid that fate. Yeah, overall I think they arrived too late, and we were able to just really clamp down on this area before these guys started to move. And as you can see, yeah, definitely could have penetrated the T-34 armor, but I guess it could have been a bit difficult for them to engage directly. They had to just concert their effort along with panzers, but I don't think they could have done that effectively enough now that we just took all the objectives and destroyed their defenses. So checking out the Italian infantry, and they're pretty good infantry, man. They're pretty they had a good number of soldiers in their squadron, around 9, and some nice experience and some wide variety of weapons like anti-tank, some grenades that they could have thrown in close proximity. This gun was particularly effective, destroyed 2 T-26s. And as you can see, some of these guys were pretty effective and had Molotov cocktail. Yeah, but we were able to overwhelm them. And I think it's just the AI not being able to effectively use the resources. I wonder what turn that they actually received their armor. So here is the AAR. Yeah, as you can see, yeah, it's really lopsided, 91 to 9. Yeah, so there's something definitely wrong about the way the AI conducted its defense. And I was kind of wondering, like I said, about what turn that the Italians received their armor support. So I went into the game once again as Axis and I checked. As you can see, the first reinforcement for the Italians arrived around turn 16. So they definitely had ample time to bring these guys up from the road where they started. And you can see they moved a bit in my game, but they didn't move all the way. In the second time, I think they arrive around turn, I have to check, turn 18. The Panzers arrived at turn 18, and finally these guys arrived near the edge of the brush here on the, yeah, on the map. On the edge of the map near the brush, it turned 21. So they could have definitely crossed into the brush area in order to face us, but I guess they were just too late, or simply didn't think to move them in quick fashion. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this episode, the final episode of Christmas Battle. Hope you enjoyed it, and I think it's a really good. I mean, the game really made me work to the end. I guess it really didn't want to let me go because this is going to be the last episode for a while in combat mission Barbarossa Berlin. So next game, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'm going to concentrate a bit more on Dragon Alliance 2 to wrap that game up. It's been going for more than a year, so yeah, concentrate a bit more in finishing that game. Still have to do a lot more, I think, in order to really come close to finishing the game, but I like to try a bit more, try a bit harder toward the end. Or if you guys want to see more of the combat mission Barbarossa Berlin, then maybe if this episode reaches like 50 views or 3 likes or something, it's not really asking for a lot, I guess, but if it reaches that kind of a plateau of interest, then I'll be yeah, I do one more scenario covering the German side, but I wanted to move on and try something else. Yeah, one of the games that one of the reader mentioned a while back, I don't know whether he's still watching, but he mentioned something about that Civil War game, Civil War Generals 2. I was wondering about that game, whether it's a good game for me to try it. But anyways, thanks so much for watching. Really thankful for your support. Truly been a pleasure. This game has provided a lot of interesting and very entertaining moments. And yeah, until that time, when I come up with a new game or continue on with the common mission, please stay tuned.